Welcome to the Edinburgh Fringe, where there's a musical serenade in the air. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. It's the Fringe here. Edinburgh's calling, and I'm Ewan Spence, who's making the call from Scotland to the rest of the world with all the best that the arts have to offer. I mean, we're talking well over 3,200 shows here at the festival. We've already been running more than 2 weeks. We still have, does the maths in my head, 5, 6, 7, 8. We still got 10 days to go. 9 for most shows, because most of them finish on Sunday, but about a third go through to Monday as well. So you can just consider that 10 days still of festival to go, and there's 2 weekends in that mix as well. There is also another question hanging in the air, and it is a very, very simple one, and it's one that many Fringe regulars are asking themselves. When is it going to rain? Because we've had a little flurry, but there's so much mugginess in the air, there's heat, the air is thick, there is a downpour somewhere in there, and I don't think it's all going to stay in the sky for another 10 days. So at some point, it's going to become a Scottish summer, so keep your ponchos at the ready. Before then, though, let's have a little look through at what we've got for today's interview. And, well, there are so many puns available on this show. It is The World's Greatest Lover, a new musical debuting at the Fringe this year, but it does have international ambitions beyond Pleasance One. The titular lovers of the title have been lifted from the annals of history to have their type of love judged. Writers Julien Salvia and Ludovic-Alexandre Vidal have brought Romeo, Casanova, Cyrano de Bergerac, the Marquis de Sade, and the MC in the form of St. Valentine's to the Fringe stage. Not only is this a closer look at 5 different types of love, it's also a chance for some great new pop standards. Julien and Ludo, on a rather long-distance call from Australia, talked to me today about how they chose those lovers, the potential to go on to a wider audience, and the commercial paths available before, during, and after the Fringe. Sometimes you meet people at a press launch. Sometimes you meet people at a press launch and go, hey, I remember you from Luxembourg last year, let's do an interview. And then they go off to Australia. Do you know how hard it has been for me to catch you two, to get used to on the show? Finally, after a few days of globe-trotting chasing that didn't get turned into a nice BBC comedy show, Julien Salvia and Ludovic-Alexandre Vidal join me on the pod. Welcome, finally.
Hi, Ewan.
Yes, bumped into you at the Pleasance press launch, where we got a first look at your show, World's Greatest Lover. Tell me about it.
Well, basically, we wanted to write a musical which was a mix between like musical theater and the world of boys bands, and so we had fun doing so. And when we were thinking about like the subject and the story that we wanted to tell, we're thinking like basically, well, if we want to have like a kind of fun and modern boys band, why not tackle this universal subject that is love? Because everyone has a relationship to love, whether like they're lovers of love or they've been like hurt by love or they've done themselves mistakes with love. We all have our our own relationship with love, and so we wanted to address that thing through the figures of famous lovers in history, whether real or fictional, and so that's how it all started. Like to a little bit like to wonder what love would really be in 2025. What does it mean to be in love? And why we want to defend love as well.
And actually, our protagonists are famous lovers from history or from novels, from literature. And actually, we show that they're like influencers, but even influencers can mess it up. And
Yeah.
that's what we learn in the story.
Basically, they're all persuaded to be the world's greatest lover ever, but they will finally, one step after the other, learn that and realize that they've been like really toxic in the way of loving with their like old-fashioned masculinity. So they tend to evolve like step by step.
There are some great names featuring on the I Am Pretending to Be. Pretending, acting, singing. My role is... Now, yeah, you're all pretending. Why did you choose these 5? You know, I looked down the list and there's one massive one that I think you're missing, but we'll get to that one in a second.
Okay.
That's great.
Tell me about the ones you have chosen.
Well, basically, when we wanted to address those figures of famous lovers, we wanted also to address like some archetypes of men that have loved in a certain, like I would say, in a certain wrong way to some extent at some point, so that they could evolve, realizing that, as I said, like they've been toxic in their own way, in the way they address their relationship.
And they should be all different.
And so, thinking of those archetypes, basically chose Casanova for the womanizing and collecting all the conquests. Romeo for the juvenile, over-the-top, passionate approach of loving. Sade, of course, Marquis de Sade for the fact of being attracted by what hurts. So of course, with Sade there is also the underlying like BDSM thing, but more generally speaking, it's also to address the fact that sometimes we tend to be like attracted by
what hurts
in love. And then of course Cyrano de Bergerac, which was interesting for us. It was interesting for us to the fact that when you think of this character, you may think like, oh, it's pure love, it's real love, because like you really love Roxanne in an not interested way, because like he always stayed in the shadows. Then you slowly realize that it's not love either, because like it's also lying and not trusting the one you love, not to tell that you love them. So basically, those were different archetypes that we wanted to use for the story.
And also, we had to find famous characters that everyone could know around the globe. That was also our main question. Is that when we name Cyrano de Bergerac, everyone has heard of Cyrano de Bergerac in a certain way. And or Romeo, of course, Casanova, or Marquis de Sade, and it was also why we chose these different characters, to have different archetypes that everyone could know.
Yeah, and finally, so the last character is Val, so Saint Valentine. It was for us also the embodiment of the fact that people tend to lose faith in love sometimes, or at least like lose what the real message of love is. And it was interesting for us to think, oh, what could Saint Valentine think of what Valentine's Day has become, like with all the commercial stuff and all the things? And it was fairly for us like the pretty good embodiment of like going on the wrong path of what love is.
I suppose an interesting question for me: who does follow some bits of popular music, but I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. Why are boy bands generally 5 members nowadays? Because you've got 5, you've got 4 and the host. So you've got Cliff Richard and the Shadows, or Cliff Richard and the Drifters, if you want to go back to history before they had to change their name. But most boy bands nowadays are 5. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's interesting, because in France, for instance, we have boy band and they're free sometimes. So it depends. But to be totally true, the producer said we can do a show with 5 guys. So we had to do.
Maybe there's an opportunity for harmonies and solos, I suppose, but I don't know why.
I couldn't answer
true,
that.
but you say like it's even 5.
NSYNC 5. You know, New Kids on the Block 5. Take
Stop.
that. When they started, thanks to Simon Fuller, 5. The pop band 5. 5.
Yeah.
They should have had 6 in there. That would have confused everybody.
Yeah.
You mentioned their international appeal. So does that mean that you are looking beyond the Fringe for this show?
Sure. I think we've got like multiple objectives with the show. Of course, as musical theater kids, like territories like the US, the UK, Australia, or, well, all the countries where musical theater is big is also a target of development for the show. And also, yes, we are aiming at also touring the show internationally. So we're in Asia or in the Middle East. So there are many doors that can be open. So for the moment, we don't know yet what's going to happen with the show, but we hope that there's going to be like several paths of development for it.
Does that mean that the sort of restrictions that you have in Edinburgh, you have 1 hour, you don't have a lot of time to build this setup? So does that mean that when it goes on tour, you're going to carry on with those restrictions, or are you going to be looking to make a bigger show?
I think that the standard duration of the show in the end will be something like an hour 25. A little bit like this. But still, with the experience of the Fringe, we know that an hour version can exist too, which can also be like promising for different possibilities of touring, depending on the format that people want. And so we're pretty much open to different paths of development for that as well.
I mean, what's the writing process then? Do you write the songs first, or do you do the storyline first and then bring the songwriting in?
That's a good question.
We first wrote the storyline, and each time we worked on musicals. Here it was a bit different because it's more like
concert meets musical.
Concert meets musical. So the storyline is thinner than in real musical theater. But still, we always start with the storyline and the characterization, and then when everything is really clear for us, we can write the song. But
everything starts with structure, so that we know the bone of the story, all the journeys, both emotional or story journeys of the different characters. And once the structure is clear, we know when we incorporate the songs in between the scenes, and we know what the songs should convey in terms of emotional journeys for the different characters. And so once all of this structure is clear, then Julien goes to write the music, because then he knows what the music should convey in terms of emotional journeys. And then once the music is written, I go back writing the lyrics. And so it's back and forth between the both of us.
So for this show, you're debuting at Edinburgh. Did you write it as an hour show, or did you write it as the hour 20?
Interesting.
Did you like write to bring it down, or did you write and then go, we're going to have to do an extended edition?
No,
actually we wrote the whole first version of the show.
Yep.
that we presented as a concert at the 54 Below. And then after that, after the postmortem meeting, we decided with the producers to rewrite things. But as it was really quick, we decided to rewrite the 1 hour show first, to do the rewrite in this version, and then we will.
The next step will be like to start from that Edinburgh 1 hour version to mix it and to have also to mix it so with former material that we had in the 1 hour and 20 version, and also to have new material as well, given all the rewrites that we had. So it's going to be like a new complete version soon.
There are so many paths into Edinburgh at the Fringe, and so many paths coming out of Edinburgh as well.
Yep.
A musical with people from history taking classic pop sounds, debuting at an hour in Edinburgh, and then going a little bit bigger afterwards. I think I've heard that story before.
Who knows?
It's a bit like Six, isn't it?
When the producers commissioned us for the show, they said, we'd like to write a boy band show. That was something they had in mind for a long time. And actually, when we thought about it, and we thought about the format, and of course, Six, what was exactly in that format. We've also thought of Altar Boys, the musical.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of Six meets Altar Boys.
Yeah, and the intention was really to have an entertaining show, a silly, fun show with pop songs. But I totally get the fact that it could be assimilated to Six with boys, because that was the commission. But totally. It's but in our mind it was Six meets Altar Boys.
Yep.
Does it help in terms of the business side of things that the route that Six has taken has given World's Greatest Lover a path that it could follow for people to understand how you go from Fringe to beyond?
You know what? You never know whether how much it facilitates the thing, but I think that at some point, the comparison to it, or at least like saying, well, it's a little bit like Six and it's all about, like a little bit like this kind of stuff. I think that for the people who have those references, they might see like the different path of development that can be done with such a show. So I think that there's an opportunity like for people to be reassured that there are multiple paths of development that can exist for this kind of shows.
And in terms of path, I mentioned it at the top of the interview. You've been around the world a bit since this press launch, me trying to catch you for the interview.
Yes, sure.
Are you keeping up with what's happening in Edinburgh?
Yeah, sure. Of course, we stay in touch like with the team. We've got our own WhatsApp group. We follow the social medias.
The reports.
Every
day.
So we know
we know everything about the show, how it's going on, and it's cool. And we liked you.
Do you feel like you're missing out?
Of course.
It's always like this where when you're writers, I think that it's always like beautiful to see your babies grow up. And at some point, like with every babies and every children, you need to let them go and to let them grow their own path. So I don't know if we are missing something. I think it's a process of acceptance, of letting go, and at some point, even though you've imagined those characters and you've written the show, those shows
becomes its own.
must live its own path at some point.
But we'll come back soon for the next.
Oh yeah, please do, please do. And for those of you wondering about the Luxembourg reference, it's to do with Eurovision. And I know when they're having their national selection, and you've not told me anything yet. So, yeah, watching for that one. If you sneak in one of the new songs, I'm gonna know something's up. Speaking of sneaking in, if you could have brought in the world's sixth greatest lover, who would it have been?
If we had a sixth one, si on avait eu un sixième.
Oh,
If we had a sixth one, yeah, I think as for me, I would have gone with Shah Jahan, who constructed the Taj Mahal for his lover. I think he would have been an interesting one as well. At some point, we were maybe Clyde Barrow. Could have been interesting, like with the Bonnie type story. Well, I think there are many options that could have been also used as famous lovers in the show.
what was important, if we had it one new, was important is that the problem with love was not exactly the same with the other ones we have already in the show, that they have to have a really clear archetype. And so that's why it was difficult to choose them, because they need to be famous. They needed to be famous and also have a clear archetype, really distinct from the other.
And a clear also failure in the way they loved that could be solved in their own character journey.
The show itself, it's still here in Edinburgh, taking place at Pleasance, 6 p.m. You don't know what time zone that is because you don't know where you are in the world, but we'll have a link back on our website, straight into the box office with the correct time, edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com. But as you said, international aspirations for the show. Where can people find out more?
You can go on the website.
On the website, wdlmusical.com, if I'm not mistaken. You've got also all the social media. For instance, Instagram is quite active. And sometimes, like, some of the guys of the show take over the Instagram and just, like, post stories of what's happening behind the stage and behind the scene.
Very fun.
So, I think that would be like the best places, like, to have news about the show, and maybe there's going to be like other surprises in the future. We hope that there might be at some point, like the album released on different streaming platforms. But that's a thing that we have to develop in the future to have a proper recording of the show as well.
There's a week to go at the Fringe, so there's a week to go with the show as well for people who want to look that up. Julien, Ludo, it's a really nice concept. I've enjoyed that. Thanks very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And Ludo and Julien there, the world's greatest lover, writers behind that there. You can find details on where to book your tickets back at our website, edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com. The show itself takes place at 6 p.m. every day in Pleasance One. As always, links to the box office and the website, as well as the world's greatest lover main website as well, where you can keep an eye in the future to see what happens with the show. As for our show, well, we have you can give us a little hand for the future as well. Link, like, love, share, subscribe, star ratings, podcast apps, all the usual stuff is always very much appreciated. The weekend is here now, so lots of time for me to go out and see some shows. We've got our Omnibus edition will be happening at Radio 6 International. You can tune in Saturday night at that, www.radio6.com. I'm back here on Monday for week 3 of The Fringe. But until then, ta-ra. Been listening to the Edinburgh Fringe Show, hosted by Ewan Spence, produced by the Podcast Corner for Spence Media and Radio 6 International. Listen to more from the Fringe at edinburghfringe.thepodcastcorner.com.